You're watching the NewsX debate now with me, Jujhar Singh. Now, the rising voices of protest against the heinous Delhi gang rape of earlier this month has broken to focus the additional burden that victims of sexual assault have to bear in India. The stigma that society heaps on them, stigma which ensures that victims can't live a normal life again. The unrelenting pressure that is sometimes worse than the actual crime itself.
वो लड़की उर्मी एक बदचलन लड़की है।
ये झूठ है।
उस वक्त उसके बदन पर कपड़े थे या नहीं?
जज साहब, मैंने पहले ही बता दिया है कि बलात्कार हुआ। जी नहीं, साड़ी थी लेकिन
Bollywood doing its best to reinforce societal stereotypes. Stereotypes that dictate it's the woman's fault for being the victim of a sexual crime.
उसके सर के पास थे।
उनके हाथ कहाँ थे? उसकी छाती पर थे या कंधों पर थे?
The imagery of women being depicted in the media not helping matters either. But the sad truth is, women continue to suffer such stigma, as is borne out by this Delhi girl who had to leave school and her family had to move after she was raped by 3 boys from the neighborhood. What's more, insensitive comments from our netas further reinforce the idea that sexual crimes against women are a low priority affair and push the onus on the victims to explain how they suffered humiliation.
वहाँ पे ऐसा है कि जैसे बेइज्जती का हिसाब है, जैसे बेइज्जती हो रही है, अजीब लग रहा है, वहाँ पे सब हंसते हैं देख के और कोई साथ देने वाला नहीं वहाँ पे, तब घर छोड़ना पड़ा, वहाँ पे जा भी नहीं सकते.
The protests at India Gate over the Delhi gang rape case have had one central message around them, that women don't ask to be raped. They certainly don't want to be victims.
मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि इस मामले में मुझे कोई संकोच नहीं एक बात कहने से कि 90% लड़कियां सहमति से जाती हैं, आगे आपराधिक प्रवृत्ति के लोग मिल जाते हैं जो हवस का शिकार होते हैं. लड़की को ये पता नहीं होता कि आगे 5, 7, 10 है.
सम्मानित व्यक्ति जो हैं राष्ट्र के, वो समझते हैं कि जिस प्रकार की दुराचार की घटनाएं घट रही है, जिस तरीके से लड़कियों के साथ गैंग रेप हो रहे हैं, सरकार नपुंसक बनी बैठी है, कुछ कर नहीं रही है. उसके दृष्टिगत अपनी इज्जत बचाने के लिए खाप ने अगर ये निर्णय लिया है तो मैं समझता हूँ ये एक अच्छा निर्णय है.
आप अपने आप से पूछो, आप छोटे से रेप, छोटे से एक असॉल्ट पे जो पुलिस ऑफिसर या सरकारी करता है तो कैसे आप डिस्कशन कराते हो, लेकिन 15 मंत्रियों के खिलाफ प्रशांत भूषण और अरविंद केजरीवाल ने मिलकर सबूत दिए. आप में से किसी मीडिया ने एक भी डिस्कशन नहीं कराई. मुझे बताइए या क्यों नहीं कराई? डरते हैं आप?
The Scarlet case spoiled Goa's name in the past, although the young lady herself invited all the alleged offences against her, ultimately resulting in her tragic death in the middle of the night on a beach of Goa.
बलात्कार ऐसा घृणित कार्य है, ये भारत के कोने कोने में हो रहा है. आम बात हम नहीं कह रहे हैं, लेकिन होता है कि नहीं ये बताइए? होती है. अच्छा, उसकी निंदा की जानी चाहिए, उसके खिलाफ आवाज उठाई जानी चाहिए कि सिर्फ एक लड़की की अभी दिल्ली में हो गई इसलिए जो है हो रहा है.
All they want is for society to recognize when injustice has been done and for the law to act swiftly against the guilty. Bureau Report, NewsX.
Well, even as we speak, the Delhi gang rape victim is in a very precarious condition in a hospital in Singapore. There's outrage across the country, but here are the harsh realities. Gang rapes are continuing unabated. Now a minor girl in Patiala has committed suicide because the police took no action against her rapist. Instead, they harassed the victim. On the other hand, our netas are continuing with their sexist remarks and actions. Yesterday, the president's son shocked the nation. Today, a minister in Madhya Pradesh burned jeans and t-shirts because this genius feels that these kind of clothes contribute to rapes. The question is, how do we as a society look at women? We're going to be talking about this with Dr. Nimesh Desai, head of Department Psychiatry of IHBS, Sanjana John, fashion designer and activist, Dr. Sambit Patra, spokesperson of the Delhi BJP, Sanjay Jha, co-founder of HamaraCongress.com, and we'll be joined by a couple of more guests in the next couple of minutes. Sanjana, let me begin with you. How much are we as a society guilty of being MCPs, male chauvinist pigs?
There is definitely an attitude problem, as we all perceive in our day-to-day life, but I think it's because of the traditions that have seeped in, and it's very difficult for people to get out or break out of that rut, because women have always been, you know, with the pallu at home, and all of a sudden you're seeing them educated, they're out there on par, you know, earning just as much or more than the men, which I think does bring an inferiority complex in a lot of men. And
you're saying as a result the men are becoming more chauvinistic.
I think that's a very big reason why that struggle for power. I want to suppress you because you are not as good as me, and I don't want you to be because you've never been.
I can see that Dr. Nimesh Desai is nodding his head. Dr. Desai, you're a leading psychiatrist. How does the average Indian man look at a woman?
What Sanjana is saying is partly true, and I agree with what she is saying. In addition to that, I think it's the inability of the society at large, and men in particular, to be able to handle that transition. From the traditional suppressed society to a suddenly liberated, westernized society where each one of us has freedom to do what one likes. And so that ability to digest and handle the autonomy or the freedom that each one of us gets, it doesn't come easy to individuals, groups or society. And so to me it seems, Sanjana, there is a mixture of both.
It's more common in a particular class of society, or it goes across classes?
Yes, to me it seems across classes, but young people who are in that transitional phase of going from rural agrarian to the urban liberated westernized society, that ability to handle the conflicting values, you know, and respect
it's becoming difficult. Dr. Partha is shaking his head.
No,
why are you doing that?
In disagreements, because I believe this has nothing to do with the class and the transition, because yesterday's comment by Abhijit, I mean the topmost person of the country, he has commented that the sundaris, that the beautiful ladies, dented painted ladies, are not supposed to go out and participate in protesters. If they are protesting, the protest is of no consequence. That shows, see, if you read in the mindset of what Abhijit has said,
so it's across classes and power structures.
Everywhere. Please read the mindset, what he wanted to say. He wanted to say that girls are not supposed to be beautiful. Serious girls are not supposed to attend discotheques, because if you attend discotheques, you are not going to be taken seriously by the country. Just because...
I'll tell you what, because I know he's a Congress MP, so you're very keen to talk about this. We're going to talk about what our leaders are saying in just a minute. But Sanjay Jha, let me ask you, let's give you some stats over here. Last year there were 24,000 rapes in the country, but remember only 5% of rapes are even reported. This means that if we take account of rapes that are not reported also, the reality is that there's a rape taking place almost every 1 minute in this country. In the last 20 years, 10 million female feticides have been aborted. 1 in 12 girls in India does not even live to see her first birthday. My question is, what is the state of our society, Sanjay?
Absolutely, Juzar. I mean, I share the, the concern and disgust, I would say, with the way we have really, pushed ourselves to this point that there's a tragic victim in Singapore right now. And, the incident seems to have somewhat relatedly woken up the national consciousness. I would like to, address this more like a massive social challenge that we need to overcome. It's manifested in rape is one element of it, but whether it's dowry debts, whether it's sexual harassment at workplace, whether it's eve-teasing, whether it's plain and simple, feticide or, female infanticide.
Right.
If you look at it, it's a societal challenge. And, Juzar, to be honest, I don't want to bring any politics into it, but I think the entire political class across all parties, whether it's BJP, where Narendra Modi made some very stupid statements about 50 crore girlfriend, etc. Everybody needs to become gender sensitive. This country needs to respect women
you're
for
saying
what
everybody,
they are.
okay, hold on, Sanjay, because you're saying everybody needs to become gender sensitive, but let me ask you, society may have a major problem with the way it sees women, but politicians are also a reflection of that. I mean, the president's son, your party MP Abhijit, makes an idiotic sexist remark, and I want to ask you, why is the Congress, which is headed by a woman, standing by this man?
They're not. Juzan, let me just clarify. I mean, end of the day, there are many party workers, including MPs and MLAs. You see, what happens is that was a ridiculously, wrong statement, inappropriate, insensitive. And I'm glad, frankly, that his sister, the president's daughter...
The question I'm asking is that we all know it was inappropriate. In fact, I'd go to say it's idiotic, not inappropriate. It was idiotic. The point is, why is your party not taking any action against him? They've said that he's apologized, but his apology was half-hearted.
Let me tell you, what I recommend, because you've seen a lot of ridiculous statements made even by the CPM gentleman the other day and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's right.
What needs to be done. And you look at the history, there have been bad comments made by Mulayam.
But you're again not answering the question as to why your party is not taking action, Dr. Patra.
No, my question is, it's a fashion nowadays that you blab on anything and then you say that I just apologize. But the question is, if the gang rape culprits start apologizing and say that let's apologize and let's take back whatever we have done, would you agree and will you allow them to sit back? No.
Yeah, but Dr. Pato, I have a question for you as well. Because your party, you from the BJP, your agriculture minister in Madhya Pradesh, Ram Kishan Kusmaria, has been burning jeans and t-shirts today saying that they contribute to rape. I mean, what kind of a fellow do you have as a minister in Madhya Pradesh?
See, though I'm unaware of the whole incident, but I'm
making you aware of it.
I'm not going to defend the indefensible. If he has done this, it is
wrong.
But
my question is the same. Shivraj Singh Chauhan has made a statement today, but he's not condemning this. Why is that?
I think party would surely condemn this if he has done this.
I haven't heard of a condemnation.
Surely he would be condemned.
But I haven't heard of a condemnation.
I believe this thing has not reached the high command, and as soon as it reaches,
they are going to
condemn
it. The whole media, we are talking about it. It's all over television, but your party high command hasn't heard of it.
I'm sorry for it. If at all he has done this, we are really sorry for this aggressive mindset.
The Congress party is sorry, you are sorry, but everybody's sorry, but there's no action.
No, but I don't believe that what he meant was that rapes or gang rape should be excused. This is not what he meant. But even if he did this kind of regressive thing, I'm really sorry for it. I'm not going to defend him at all.
In fact, we now have Anil Dharkar, writer and columnist, who also joins us from Mumbai. Mr. Dharkar, and here's another case talking about our leaders. CPM MLA Anisur Rahman has asked that how much money will Mamta Banerjee be given as compensation if she was to get raped. And then, of course, we know the Home Minister Sushil Kumar Shinde said recently in Parliament to Jaya Bachchan during a debate on Assam that, listen, sister, this is a serious matter, not a filmy subject. My question is, how much do you shudder at the kind of people who are ruling us, Mr. Dharkar?
Yes, this is the problem because the agitation which we have seen and been spontaneous, and it's a wonderful agitation because young people have come out into the streets giving vent to their very strong feelings, but behind it all we see there's so many problems. The problems go from the policeman, the attitude of the average policeman who has to actually record complaints, who have to do the FIR. We have to look at the police who have to carry out an investigation, who have to then make a case. But above them all are the politicians, right from the Home Minister and so on. Are they bothered? Do they consider rape a serious crime? The kind of Mr. Sushil Kumar Shinde, the way he has conducted himself in Parliament, it is as if it's some routine matter.
And you know what, Mr. Dharkar, Mr. Dharkar, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me put this to Dr. Nimesh Desai, because he's raising his finger.
When rapes have happened in Bengal, she has tried to cover up instead of trying to investigate what has happened.
We'll have to realize.
Pranab Mukherjee's son.
We'll have to realize that lasting change comes with sustained effort. This youthful energy that we are seeing in last week or 10 days on the streets, one can only hope and believe that this will be sustained. Tongue-in-cheek but seriously, well, with full respect for the youth, I would want to wait and see if the same youth would continue to have the level of vigilance that it now is demonstrating for next few years in any event that happens in their presence. You see, one of the difficulties is law enforcement and criminal justice is not very good in this society, but is the civil society alert enough? And I would hope that it will.
But it requires a change of mindset.
Yes.
You see, Sanjana is saying yes. We also have well-known women's activist Ranjana Kumari now joins us. Ranjana, the point we were referring to what Sushil Kumar Shinde said about Jaya Bachchan, about what the CPM MLA has said about Mamta Banerjee. My question is this: Sushil Kumar Shinde would never have said the same to a male member of parliament with a film background, like say Chiranjeevi. He would never have said to Chiranjeevi that, hey brother, this is a serious issue, it's not a film set over here. Or Narendra Modi, he said on Sunanda Tharoor, wow, kya girlfriend hai, 50 crore girlfriend. Would Modi have said that about a male politician? What is the mindset over here, Ranjana?
Absolutely, Jujhar. This is the sexist, very, very, insulting to women. They never will say all these things to men because there is a kind of fraternity which they understand each other and they talk. It is only when it comes to women, they would like to run them down, they would like to ridicule them. Somebody will say that they are dented, painted, somebody will say they are 50 crore rupees girlfriend. I think these are the kind of mindset that are leading our society to the kind of mess we are in. That is why we are living in a country where every 25 minutes is a rape case happening. Women are sexually assaulted all the time. There are so many sexual
offenders. The rape cases, Ranjana, in fact, I would say that let's not talk about the official figures that a rape case is happening every 25 minutes. A rape is happening every 1 or 2 minutes because only 5% of rapes are even reported. But Sanjay, I want to ask you one thing. We're now talking on mindsets. Yes. The mindsets of our netas, but the mindsets of the common man also, because you know what's happening with female feticide, infanticide, so on. My question is this, are we still in a Victorian mindset where men still think of, women as a man's possession?
I think we still haven't broken out of that mold and that primitive, promiscuous attitude.
Yeah.
If you're seeing our leaders have that, this is exactly what's going to seep down into the masses because these are the people they are looking up to. So what role model would they follow?
But I'll tell you, the other theory could be that it's not that because our leaders are like that, the masses are like that, because our masses are like that they throw up leaders like that. Leaders are a reflection of society as well, right?
I would differ on that because I think we choose leaders who have a mind which is balanced.
Because our society is like that, so we choose those leaders.
But I still think that we've come a long way. We're not in that primitive society where women don't come out. We have women working, and it's a very, very I would say advanced state we're in. So why aren't the leaders changing the mindset of the masses? I mean, you have to start somewhere.
Anil Dharkar, what accounts for this mindset? Is there a failure of education?
The opportunity. Don't say that we choose the leaders.
Well, I don't know what.
That we are the society. But where are the women? They are not even 10% representing in Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, in the state assemblies. I mean, what kind of a leadership have we given to women anyway? I mean, this has all been hogged by these men.
Ranjana, in which case, let me ask the question, is reservation for women the answer?
Sorry?
Is reservation for women in our...
Reservation, I don't think, is the answer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the only way to go. That is the only way to go. We need to have more women in our Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, Vidhan Sabha, so that they can bring...
Hold on, Ranjana, you are saying that, but Anil Dharkar disagrees with you.
Do you know they have cut the... Do you know they have cut the budget of women child ministry? The women component of the yesterday was NDC meeting. They have reduced the budget by 2,000 crores.
All right,
Ranjana, I just want to ask one question. You told that reservation probably is the answer to this whole fanfare. My question is, the gang rape took place in Delhi. The Chief Minister of its state is a woman, a very pertinent and a great leader, in fact, I would say. But in spite of that, she has ridiculed the whole thing. And the party which is playing a tug of war with this whole issue has a president who is woman herself. In spite of that, I think this whole issue was not addressed the way it should have been addressed. So it is not just women sitting on position, it is gender sensitivity in society at large.
Okay, hold on. Actually, rather than Ranjana, let's get Sanjay Jha to respond to that.
You're not getting the gender sensitive men.
Okay, Sanjay, what do you say to that?
What is the alternative?
Sanjay, Sanjay, go ahead. Respond to Dr. Patra.
Jujhar, I say forward is obviously going to be a question. You can't, emancipation of women is not just going to be about giving them better jobs or income opportunities, etc. There's a socio-cultural context that needs to be worked on. It has to start early at home. Families need to practice this whole culture whereby your daughter is not seen as a liability. That's the asset. So, I mean, that is between the two. I mean, they're individual human beings with great similar minds and values.
Right,
so I think we start at a very basic level of our family unit in our society. But I think there's a wave in this country, sadly enough, they only respond when there's an atmosphere of fear. I think when people get to realize the consequences of attacking women can be extremely harmful, I think you'll see some kind of deterrent.
All right, okay, and let me just go back to Anil Dharkar, then we'll come to Dr. Desai. Anil Dharkar, you were disagreeing with Ranjana over there. You were saying that reservation for women will not make a difference. Why do you believe that?
Well, you know, the reservation of women is not necessarily going to solve the problem. And I'm saying that because we've got Sonia Gandhi as leader of the Congress party, we have got women chief ministers, we've got Jayalalitha, we've got Mamata Banerjee, we've had Mayawati earlier. Did they make any difference? When we look at the women corporators, we have in Bombay, for example.
Of course, Anil, they have made a difference.
They are absolutely, they are traditional,
no, you don't want to recognize
women.
the difference they have made.
Yeah, but Anil Dharkar, you know, Ranjana, yes, go ahead. I mean, maybe Mr. Dharkar, the situation would have been worse had all these women not been in positions of power. Maybe the situation might have been worse. Ranjana, what were you saying? Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. Today we at least are able to come forward,
we must have reservation of
protest,
women,
we are able to make the
quality
system
of
listen
women
to us, we are able
quality.
to, you know, so many things are changing because women leadership has been able to deliver in some sense, but don't forget that they are working within the framework of the male political, you know, when you play the game by the rule of the game, then this game has been designed for men, by men and by
how much could it be
of the men.
Dr.
This
Desai,
democracy is not for women, by the women and of the women.
Maybe it's a question of numbers, and maybe it's not. But leave that aside for a minute. To me, it seems that let's get down to the social realities and what social science we know. And I want to say this explicitly. Disempowerment of one group is essential if the society has to empower another group. And when you come to gender power, this is something that man will have to learn at micro, meso and macro level, at all levels. I have no hesitation in saying that I learn every day and every week, and I think each one of us will have to be willing to learn every week, every day, every minute about the changing gender equation. See, the difficulty is there.
Sanjay, I want to ask you one thing on this particular point though. The point over here is that, you know, we can say it's a failure of value systems in family, a failure of education, therefore failure of mindset. But who's going to change that? Because the people who have to change that come from the same society, with the same mindset. It's a chicken and egg situation.
But I think we're seeing a very strong wave, a strong movement. She's seeing the youth out there. I think that's the change that we've been waiting for. I mean, it's really sad that it took something like this, but I think this might be what's going to actually
but Dr. Patra, here's my fear. The fear is, see, the Delhi girl has been gang raped. There's anger, which is very justifiable, but like the Anna Hazare agitation, it died down eventually, public support dwindled, and it's business as usual. The basic problem is the mindset. How are we going to start changing that?
See, as far as the mindset is concerned, we are having a debate in a country which has always is a torchbearer of the mindset. If I remind you of what Adi Shankaracharya has written years ago, he had written that Punarapi Jananam, Punarapi Maranam, Punarapi Janani Jathare Shayanam, that again birth, again death, and again sleeping in the womb of the Divine Mother. Mother has been the center of everything in this great country, and here we are having debates.
So we have to go back to our own values.
We have to go back to our own values, and we have to relearn them. We just don't have to
look to the conflict.
West.
But that's the point.
Yeah, but here's the conflict, because on the one hand we have our old values, which have all these equitable values embedded in them, but then we have modern values.
The 21st century.
Yeah.
But
is there conflict between the two, Dr. Desai?
Need not be, but there will be. The transitional phase will always be conflicting. Somewhere, like again, individually and as society, we'll have to learn to merge the two well enough. And if there is any country on the world which can do that well, it's this country. At least we are headed in the right direction. Maybe the change is not as perceptible it should be. Maybe it's not as good, as quick, but I think we are headed in the right direction.
Okay, last 30 seconds left. Final word to Ranjana. Ranjana, how do we change mindsets at the micro unit level?
Well, I think it will start from the family. It is the socialization which makes a man and a woman in today's context. So all the power, all the, boys can get away with whatever they do, whether it is right or wrong. Girls are always been told, and roles have been defined. Unless we will change these roles and we will make them understand the value of equality and value of living in a family which does not, their violence does not exist in that family, I'm sure things will change.
All right.
Mentality, the mindset
I can see a lot of heads nodding away in agreement.
Absolutely.
Yep. Dr. Nimesh Desai is putting his thumbs up as well. So perhaps the takeaway from this debate can be that, that the anger against what happened to the Delhi girl is justified, and the people going out in the streets is understandable, but now after this we must start converting it into action within our own four walls.
Absolutely.
How we approach women, right, Dr. Desai?
Entirely.
Right?
I think another strong thing, we should start using our entertainment and media to start propagating this message in a much stronger way, and it's very important to sustain it.
Okay, so the words must convert into action at the micro level, at the family level. Thank you all very much for joining us. Ranjana Kumari, Anil Dharkar, Dr. Desai, Sanjana John, Dr. Patra and Sanjay Jha. Thank you for watching us as well. We'll see you another time. Bye-bye.